Thanks, OT. Hey, everyone. I'm Lance from Sereel.
My name is Bunny.
And today we thought that it would be best if we just go through a discussion about our journey because we actually share our journey with a lot of you all. So just going through those, we'll start with what has happened before Sereel, and then kind of catch up after. Cool. So I can start with myself. I'm Lance. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. But in 2024, I had decided to start digital nomading while I was freelancing as a Web3 developer. I was mostly doing smart contracts and ZK cryptography. Oh, crap. Okay, that's good. All right. So I was mostly focused on zero knowledge cryptography and especially as it pertains to machine learning applications. So I worked with companies like Ezekiel and Giza on doing zero knowledge machine learning, like zero knowledge proofs of machine learning inference, as well as AI agents. Over time, I had realized that the freelancing thing wasn't for me. I wanted equity in a company. I wanted a legacy. I wanted something that, really mattered. So that was when I was living in Ghana at the time when I had really saw the opportunity in stable coins, but didn't really know what type of business to build. And that was what started Sereel. So in Ghana, in the Adinkra alphabet, there's a word called Nserewa, which means prosperity. And the logo for Sereel, so this three-part logo right here, it's inspired from the Nserewa Adinkra symbol. You just take one cowrie shell, so like this is a circle with three different cowrie shells around it, and then we just like kind of made a logo. Um, but there was a time where we didn't really have an idea of what the RWA space looked like. It was more so like, how do we use our blockchain capabilities to, build something cool? You can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Actually, I've never been sitting somewhere with all these eyes looking at me. Before I started this, I thought I was gonna make some notes. Oh, that's the loudest I can be. Can you hear me now? So, my journey started quite a while back when I started learning computers. Was when I really did a computer project. Was in high school. I did like a stupid project for those one of those things we used to have science fairs, and the project for the science fair, I had chosen a project on timetable management, and that's when I did my first project. Fast forward to campus. When I joined campus, that's when I learned about Bitcoin, and I was very eager to like get my Bitcoin wallet, try run Bitcoin on my machine. And then during that time, I'd gotten a job with this betting company called Betin. It was like, I think it was shut down. So when I was working there, I used to like be cheeky because use the work computers because they were good to try and run a Bitcoin node. I knew it wouldn't work, but it was just like, I'm just going to try because it sounded like top tech. Fast forward to like after campus. Before campus, I actually joined Special Tech here in Nairobi. I used to be with Helen. We used to have like Zoom chats with Helen and Washuka at the back. We used to do like Django development, and also I used to work as a data engineer during the same time in a company called Crafted System. The company was contracted by Safaricom, NCBA, and Kingdom Banks just to make bank software. So when I was working there, that's when I really got interested into like, when you're hired as a developer, it's different from when you run the company, because every time as a developer, you're always you get tickets, you're like, some features don't make sense to you, but because like your work is just to push out features, you're like, okay, this is what they want, so this is what they get. But working there, I found like my CTO at the time was like a very good mentor. So anytime we used to go like visit like banks when they have like database crashes, when we have like they need to like build fast data pipelines. So he used to take me to those like in those scenarios, and that's when I started to realize like it's actually fun like running a business that actually solves problems in the real world. So during that time, Washuka invited me to eat safari. And then when I was at eat safari, that's when I met Lance. And when we talked, actually, Washuka invited me to eat safari. Then I met John from Sorella. And then when I was John, we met Ochi. And then I gave Ochi an introduction of who I am, what kind of work I do. And then he was like, you need to meet this guy. Then Ochi walked me to Lance, and then from like once we met, like like it was like the whole night we spent talking about ZKTLS, like some like first time I met someone who is DJing and like talks about tech like me, and then we just clicked, and then since then we've been on this
just building. So yeah, like I discovered Bitcoin in college as well. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, so like when we first met at East Safari, it was kind of just mostly conversation around. Told him about what I was working on with Sereel and how we wanted to kind of like rebuild the financial infrastructure. I remember the words Buddy said. He said, "Bro, let's build it." And then from there, right after Eat Safari, we were actually independent builders at Magma, which is an accelerator. It was in Kilifi. So these photos you see Kakai, it was like lots of other builders. God's Power was there. And that was when we had first started ideating on the tokenization of real world assets. It was nothing solid at the time. A lot of these new protocols like ERC 3643, ERC 1400 were just kind of coming out, but we knew that there was something there, and we knew that it was something that, if we were to build in the long term, in the long run, nothing can go wrong. So then after what? Wait,
So
this is out of order. This is out of order.
yeah,
Dang it.
So after we met in Eat Safari, Lance was going for another incubator program in Thailand. And then at that time, so I was also going for DevCon, which was also happening in Thailand. So we decided we are still going to work on what we were working on in Bangkok. So when we met in Bangkok, we used to go at the hotel he was at, just do scribble things that we wanted to do. Like
Jamming. This was like some of our whiteboard sessions at the it was at the Sozu Hacker House. And we were really just kind of like, okay, how do you maximize stablecoin payments? Like local based. I think one of these stablecoins is like a Botswana Pula stablecoin.
And an Ethiopian birr.
And an Ethiopian birr stablecoin, yeah.
So because at that time Ethiopia was gonna happen like in January, and this was in November 2024. So what we were doing, we wanted to build an application that people were gonna use during Ethiopia, the pop-up city, and then so this is what we were jamming at, and that at that time also it was during like the what was the name of the wallet? Account abstraction. So everyone was like free transactions and everything. So we had to make free transaction work for the app.
Yeah, like if you look at some of these notes, it says like send user operation, register, rotating keys, getting proofs of off-chain, off-ramps, things like that. So we're really like into stablecoin based payments for local use cases, not necessarily remittances, but just, if you were to issue a local stablecoin, how would you do it, and how would you create an app around it that you can use programmable cryptography to make it extremely efficient. So then that brings us to Ethiopia. We got there before the Hacker House started. And that was when we were really, we had like some legitimate meetings. We're meeting with like some people that were connected to the National Bank of Ethiopia, different banks in Ethiopia, really trying to get the stable coin off the ground. We also talked with someone, Nathaniel from I INSA, yeah, which is the cybersecurity bureau in Ethiopia. And what we had realized, like this was our first roadblock when it came to technology doesn't matter to bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is always going to exist. The government's always going to, take their time on making decisions. You can't expect innovation to be the number one reason why, a foreign government would adopt a new technology, especially when it comes to issuing currency on this new distributed ledger technology, right?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, those lessons brought us to Rwanda after multiple suggestions. People say, this idea is not for Ethiopia. It's for a place like Rwanda. They experiment a lot in fintech.
So we went to Rwanda, spent there like 4 months. So this is us. We had a hacker house. So every day we will just log in, try. At this time, we wanted to build our own wallet infrastructure using also account abstractions and just make it better. But what happened was things turned out to be very hard than we thought.
Yeah.
So like we had like a lot of burnouts, but you can't burn out because you actually need to do this. And we were not funded, so it has to work today,
Yeah.
So this is like one of the like activities in Rwanda. So we used to get out, go to Uganda, which is like community work every first Saturday. In Rwanda, you have to go out and do some community work. So this is also working in the community.
And what we call, so we didn't live in Kigali. We lived in this suburb of Kigali called Masaka. And we would always say like Masaka Matata because it's just hard. Like we're hacking every day, doing our best to build something that lasts. But then this was also around the time where we had gotten the signal that the institutional play is still early and there aren't serious builders in the space that are building for institutions, for the old people, right? So at first we were thinking of a platform just for RWA tokenization with ERC 3643. We were still researching that from Magma the year before. And we were like, okay, we've studied the protocol enough. Now let's actually implement it. So the idea, this was like around March of 2025, where we finally converged on the concept of, wallet-based management for tokenizing assets under the 3643 protocol. And then over the 4 months that we were in Rwanda, that was when we changed the name from Sereel to Sereel, because we got feedback from that was from like a random VC.
Yeah,
who said that Sereel like
.xyz sounds, yeah.
It sounds too degen.
Too degen is
Yeah.
institutions.
Institutions like .com. So Sereel.com was taken. We're like, we need a new name. And then we went through like a week brainstorming. And then we're like, how about we just add an L to the end of Sereel and it becomes Sereel.
It actually took like a hard time convincing me to name it.
Yeah. He didn't want to rename it Sereel. And I was like, wait, bro, tokenization it's like surreal,
So it's like, so the reason he came, the reason he convinced me is because he said it sounds surreal, like
surreal, So a lot of people kind of see the play on words, like it's a digital asset.
Yeah.
So it's not real. It's surreal. You feel me? Right? So that was the birth of what we have today, which is right now. Okay, so the problem that we've seen in institutions, especially when it comes to cross-border investing, is it's really similar to the problems that you have with retail remittances, low interoperability, right? So like to send one investment from a firm in one country to another, even if they're neighboring countries, it takes high fees and a lot of complexity, right? And then not only do they take a lot of complexity, but the structure of the institutional network for sending cross-border payments and investments is typically based on days and not seconds, which is what it should be on the internet. So, and then on top of that, it's super high spreads. So, for example, if an investor in Rwanda wanted to invest in a new high-rise coming up in Kenya, not only are they going to go through a lot of foreign exchange loss, but the broker dealer that's going to manage the investment itself is going to take huge spreads, right? And then on top of that, people kind of know that blockchains are a solution, but the incumbents, the tokenization mechanisms that we have today, because they're, dealing with the BlackRocks, the Franklin Templetons, the huge asset managers that we have today, they're just extremely expensive and slow. A lot of times you'll reach out to them and they can't even get you on the queue for a tokenization project. So what we built was essentially an infrastructure service for what we call institutional DeFi. And what we kind of envision institutional DeFi as is a way for institutions to participate in decentralized finance while maintaining their compliance status with regulators like the SEC, the CMA, because this is something that they have to do. It's not an option for them. And there aren't tools out there. For example, Aave isn't going to put, compliance or, regulatory measures into their protocol because it's open. And even though open finance is a really good thing, there's a demand for compliance-based markets.
And this is something that we learned through like going through Addis, because the only hurdle that we had there was regulation. So we also went to Kigali. We had meetings with also Bank of Kigali, National Bank of Rwanda, but the only hurdles we got was regulation.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew that if you want the institutions to go on chain, you also have to show them how they're still going to be regulated on chain.
Yeah. And actually the stablecoin play that we were doing before was another precursor to that. Is, are we really going to be issuing money, or are we going to enable people who have been issuing money for decades to do it on chain? So yeah, finance at the speed of blockchain, and then the foundation for novel markets, right? So we all know hyperliquid, like perps, these new types of markets that are coming out that are only possible on blockchains, bringing that to real markets that serve real use cases like government bonds, infrastructure bonds, things that people actually need.
So before we go into the product, we during like our last stays in Kigali, we were like during our stay in Kigali, we used to jam a lot on like the Sereel protocol. So it's a protocol where every asset holder, so if maybe you're an asset holder in Botswana, an asset holder in Kenya, an asset holder in Kigali, you can actually maximize the efficiency of all these assets on chain, because our end goal is not just to tokenize assets and just leave them on chain, because you can just leave them in their databases where they are, because there isn't no difference, right? So we pushed out our white paper on the Sereel protocol, which was gonna do this. And now our product is we are building the founding blocks of the protocol.
Yeah. So this is what the product looks like. So first, of course, you sign in, you have like a one-time password. We have essentially the foundation here, like what Bunny had just said, is just custody and tokenization. That's what we're starting with. But then over time, we want to build out this like institutional DeFi protocol. It's just not necessarily demand there yet because most institutions are still just getting into tokenization.
Yeah. So if you look at this dashboard, we wanted to just make it Web 2, same way they look at dashboards on Web 2, nothing crazy. So you just have like a portfolio overview as an asset manager. Then on this section, on the wallet management page, what the internet is. So on this page, you have like a wallet wallet management page where you can create wallets that you're going to use to custody your assets and also manage the tokens that you tokenize on the dashboard. So,
We can use
we have,
R&D.
yeah, so we also have another good thing about our dashboard is passkey signed. So yeah,
Oh
we call
yeah.
them the YubiKeys. So for every institution, they have to use one of these signers. So it's like a hardware signer. And I can just create a test wallet. Test 101. Create the wallet on Ethereum. Lance and Bunny, and yeah, we can just have two of us, and then it's just a one or two signers.
So then now, like, we wanted to meet the institutions where they were, and a lot of them already use these YubiKeys for access management, access control. So then what we did, we just made a module where you could create a signer using account abstraction with one of these. So now you have your crypto wallet associated with your access control that you're already using with your core software systems. So then they're able to like put in their PIN for the YubiKey, and then from there they're able to access like Ethereum-based assets, right? So another thing that we found in our research was that these new tokenized platforms, like the money market funds coming out from BlackRock, the Franklin Templeton and stuff, most asset managers around the world have no way to access them because they don't have signers, they don't have like wallet infrastructure. If you're not familiar with how blockchain works, or and maybe you will talk to a Fireblocks, but it's still a level of expertise that you need in order to do your own custody, your own crypto custody. So what we had kind of realized that it would be very useful to have access to those types of assets in our dashboard. So that's something that we're working on now. As you can see, we made a new multi-sig with Bunny and I as the co-signers.
Co-signers. Currently, we support two networks. We support EVM L1 and also IOTA L1, but you can deploy on any VML2.
And the reason why we support IOTA versus more popular chains is because one of our clients had suggested it. They requested us to support IOTA. We might actually want to talk about that because through our advisor, we met this fund in Switzerland. Kind of what we had brought up in the presentation before is that a lot of the incumbents, they're extremely expensive and they're slow moving, right? So our biggest competitor in Switzerland is a company called Taurus. And when approaching the Swiss market, it's like, okay, it's fucking Switzerland, right? It's going to be tough to get in. But what we had realized is that this fund really wanted to work with us because we had lower rates and we were like working with them directly. So like for example, Taurus didn't support IOTA. We were able to support it in like a month. And then also there's this new chain that they want to support called Canton, and we'll be able to support that soon as well. So that was what really got us into this CMTA standard.
Right here. So
yeah, which one?
Yeah. So on our dashboard, if you want to create any token, we've used a standard called the CMTA standard, which is a Capital Markets Technology Association standard. So if you want to, in the Swiss regulation, if you want to deploy any tokens on the blockchain, you have to be under that standard. So we have the contracts ready, they're all audited, and also the flow is simple. So say I want to deploy a token on Ethereum, the same network I deployed my multi-sig. I can just, so in the standard, you have four different types of tokens that you can deploy. You have the standard token, which is just a standard security, nothing crazy. And then you have like a bond. You have like a bond which has like credit events, like when you like say it's a 3-month bond, which our client is deploying. So they're going to be doing like different kinds of bonds, and they all have different credit events. So when they're supposed to pay, the bond matures, and now they're supposed to pay the investors interest. So I can just create a bond, and select one of those wallets I just created, the test 101. give this a name Web3, or we can just call it Web3 token. And just give it a symbol. So on the token standard, the CMTA standard, you have like rule engines, and also like you have different kinds of engines that you have on the blockchain that help you now maintain this regulation. So you have the rule engine where you can now set up different kind of rules, like you can set up like anti-money laundering rules, like where you find like some countries, some blockchain addresses have already been flagged by Chainlink. So they are known for like hacking, like when the Bybit hack happened, the address that happened during that hack is definitely blocked by Chainlink. So you these issuers can set those kind of rules so that those addresses don't interact with their tokens, just to be safe on the regulation side. So you have a rule engine, snapshot engine. This one just is just an accounting engine that it just takes snapshots of account balances on chain and then saves them. And then you have a document engine where now you have all the documents for that particular token. So maybe you have like the security token that we are creating. Then you can have like a document engine that says this token is legal, this bond is legal in the Kenyan jurisdiction. This is the prospectus of the token, and service level agreement where if you owning this token means that you are we have like the person who's deploying has fiduciary responsibility of giving you like physical paper of the tokens.
And one thing that we really liked about the CMTA standard is that it had these engines that enable you to do a lot of the off-chain part much easier, because now you have something to handle all of the compliance, the documents, the legal agreements, all in just baked into the token, versus what a lot of other companies were doing, which is like, trust us, and then, we're the issuer of the token. Now you really don't even need to trust us because everything is baked into the token when it comes to the compliance.
So yeah, so for now I can give this token like a term, maybe Masaka Matata.
Matata.
And then just like a term URI. So this is where like the token prospectus is hosted. So you just put that in, and then you put in like an international security identification number. So this is like for every bond that's issued in the world, like a bond is issued in Kenya, it has this IC number so that it's identifiable all over the continent and the planet too. So once and also some token information. So this can just be like any information you want to have baked into the token. And then that's it. You can now deploy the token.
And then there are other types of regulations around, like in the European Union, they have MiCA, which requires something called a digital asset identifier. So you might want to maybe like add in one of those. It just depends on which jurisdiction you're actually deploying the token in. But yeah, as you can see, it's on Sepolia right now.
So yeah, this is so this is the